Happy Saturday, Flosstube. Welcome back, crafty friends. It's early this morning, it's 10 a.m. and I never record this early, but I was so excited to share my progress with you from last night that, and I'm so excited to get back to it for the 24 hours of cross stitch that I'm participating in, that I thought I would just go ahead and record a little earlier today. And I'm recording back in my kitchen, which is, thought I'd give you a different view today. Because when you do these daily chats every day, you know, I thought we'll shake things up a little bit. So a few questions that I often get asked when I sit in this spot. This is a piece of cross stitch. It was a Dimensions Gold kit called Wintry Eve. And just peeking through the doorway over there, you can see a Busilla kit that I finished back in 1999, I think, that is called Florentine Tiles. And I believe people have found these kits, these older kits on eBay before. Crafty bits today. I have two pieces that I was working on last night. Let me start with my Savon first. It's still on the frame. This is a Kay's Creations lap frame, and I just put it on a pillow and stick it on my lap in my chair, and then I can stitch two-handed. So see, this is really filling in nicely, and I've probably put in about 4 or 5 hours of work into it. So I would really like to see this grow a little bit more today and tomorrow. That's the plan. It's coming along nicely. This is a 16 count natural Aida, and I'm using 2 strands of DMC. The coverage is okay. You know, it's not perfect when you're stitching black, especially, but that doesn't really bother me because, you know, if I held it up close, you could probably tell that the coverage isn't 100% perfect. You can see a little bit of the fabric peeking through in, you know, the odd place. But what's most important to me is when you hold it back here, you can't tell at all. Looks pretty great to me. So that's exciting. It's coming along. And the other piece that I worked on was my Autumn's Fruitful Labor. And this is Brenda Gervais pattern. Looks like that. It's so pretty. I know, it's funny. I was working on this last night and I'm thinking, you know, I'm not a farmer. I'm not even a gardener. So I'm not one to be harvesting vegetables in the fall, other than, you know, going to the store or the farmer's market and purchasing them and maybe making jam, or you know, I like doing things like that. I don't do a lot of canning. I like freezer jam. Every year I say this. Every year I say I'm going to get my mother to teach me how to can, and every year I don't bother. I know I should, and I want to, but I don't want to at the same time because that's stitching time right there. So freezer jam is fast and delicious, and you know, I love the vegetables that come out in the fall, the apples, and I mean, I know they're fruit, but you know what I mean, the produce that comes out at harvest time. And it's the carrot, it's that giant carrot that just makes me laugh. And I think that's why. And the birds. And that huge dress. Isn't that fun? It's so fun. So let me show you my progress. I'm still down at the bottom. It's not like I finished it or anything. But look what I did. I finished that entire bottom border. All of those sunflowers are now fully complete. 100% fully complete. And I love them. So, this is a 40 count R&R Reproductions fabric. I think it's Patriot's Brew. And I'm using the called for threads. So, as you can see, I have a ways to go, but I'm really pleased that I got so much done. And let's face it, this whole section here, these words, those are going to be super fast. Those words are going to be super fast. So I'm gonna work on I'm gonna at least finish the bottom row and then see, maybe go up another row of letters and do the words up there. I am changing, I've mentioned this before, I'm going to change the word labor and I'm going to add the U so that it's a, I know it's a British spelling, but I'm Canadian, so I'm calling it a Canadian spelling, L-A-B-O-U-R for the labor, and it's going to be a really easy fix because I can just move, I'll move everything over in that line, just over a little bit, and then I'll be able to fit that U in nicely. So, aren't those sunflowers pretty? They're so pretty. And the bird. Love it. So the other piece that I am going to be, I think I'm going to rotate. I'm going to set my timer and I'm just going to do an hour of work on a piece, then take a break, then another hour on a different piece, take a break, so on and so forth. So the third piece that I'm going to add into the mix today, I'd mentioned the Red House sampler. I might spend an hour working on that, but I really want to start putting a little bit more color into my ink circles, thread and eye mandala. And I was asked, a few people asked me what colors I chose and which color I'm subbing out for the pink that I removed. It's kind of a mustard color that I'm replacing that pink with, and it's 3 different shades of a, I wouldn't call it a yellow. It really is more on the mustard side, which is another favorite color of mine. And so I've picked 3 shades of that. I've shown them before, but it was probably a year ago at least. But they are all still together in my project bag. I just have to do it. So that I would really like to start putting in some color. On Monday, when I do a longer Flosstube video on Monday, I will go through the different colors that I'm using. I'm using, when I first kitted up this project, I did it with Vicki Clayton silks, which are now, was also known as HDF fibers, hand-dyed fibers. HDF silk, which is hand-dyed fibers. Vicki Clayton is no longer dyeing silk floss for cross stitch, and so those are discontinued colors. So I can tell you what colors I'm using, but you would have to sub out different colors of your own, which I think is, you know, that's part of the fun anyways, is picking your own colors. So I'll share those. The other thing that I'll share more on Monday is, yesterday I did the focus on a designer, and I talked about Jan Houtman, and I wasn't sure a bit of the history on him. I can confirm that he did pass away in 2007. Several people wrote in to let me know that. But there's a lot more information that people are starting to send in about Jan, and also Mies, who was the co-designer on that pattern that I bought. Yannicka left me a wonderful message about how Mies was an artist who, she did the floral design that's in the center of that piece, and then Jan did the alphabet work surrounding it. So it was kind of a collaborative pattern, which I find fascinating. It's so interesting. So a few other people have left me links. I want to say Mies, but it wasn't Mies. Mika, Darling Bluebell, also left me a great comment and a link to some more information, but it is in Dutch. I have to use Google Translate to figure it out. And thank you to all of my Dutch friends who said that I did a decent job pronouncing the names, because whew, you know, when you try, I like to try, you know, I'm not perfect, but I have, funny story, I think that I had a few things help me out there. A long time ago, I had an adult flute student, and her name was Mies. So that one I was pretty confident on. And then Bloch, the last name, I used to play a flute piece, and I used to teach a flute piece that was by a composer named Ernesto Bloch. And so I thought, okay, I'm pretty sure on the pronunciation of that. And then to say Jan instead of Jan, that's, I had assumed that the J was the same as you would pronounce most of those names. Like a lot of people say Jacob de Graaf from Modern Folk Embroidery, but I believe it's pronounced Jacob but though I think he answers to both. But I think in Dutch you pronounce the J like a Y instead of a J, which was, you know, was really also interesting. When I was editing that video, it hadn't occurred to me that 2 weeks in a row, both of my designers were Jan H. I had Jan Hicks and then I had Jan Houtman, because in my mind, I don't see Jan Houtman as Jan Houtman or Jan H. I see it as the Dutch way. Does that make sense? Very, very strange. But it's interesting how these kind of life felt a little bit like life intersecting my musical terms, and those kinds of things are always in lots of different languages. And so, you know, we learn how to pronounce Italian terms and German terms, and certainly it was interesting. I was watching Shiloh last night from Nova Scotia, Shiloh, who is X-Stitch MD on Flosstube. And she was working, I had about 4 episodes backed up, and so I just kind of watched them all back to back. And she was working on a Jardin Privé piece, which is a French designer. And she kept making the comment, you know, oh, I don't know how to pronounce this properly. And then a few episodes later, she said, I'm Canadian. I feel like I should know how to say it because French is our second, it's not our second language, excuse me. We are a bilingual country. It is our other language. We have two languages. It's not secondary. I misspoke there. We have English and French. But many English-speaking Canadians aren't as confident speaking French, though many of our French speakers speak English confidently. All Canadians are required to take French. If English is your first language, you are required to take French in public school as your secondary language. When I was a kid, and this is now much more common, we have French immersion schools where you can send your children you learn in French, and instead of learning in English, all of your classes are in French. And so when I was in grade 7, my parents and I made the decision to send me to French immersion. So from grade 7 until grade 9, I did all of my classes in French. And so I might be a little more confident with some French pronunciations. This is a total rabbit hole, because in grade 9, I only did French immersion in grade 9. I left the French immersion stream in grade 10 because of a certain math teacher that I really, really struggled. And, you know, we all have wonderful stories about wonderful teachers, but occasionally you will have a story about a teacher that just for some reasons you just don't click with, it doesn't mesh. And this math teacher, I really, really struggled, and it was very difficult for me. And so I made the decision to leave French immersion for grade 10. I ended up getting the same math teacher in grade 10 in the English stream. That's what kind of a joke that was. So I often will say math is not my thing. And I really do not entirely blame the teacher for this, truly, because it had mostly to do with me, but the teacher didn't help. Anyway, this is neither here nor there. See? Whoa, what a rabbit trail today. Holy cow. Anyways, Shiloh was saying, you know, my French pronunciation is not so good. And Shiloh, I thought you did a great job. How did I even get here? We were talking about Dutch pronunciation. Anyways, thank you. I think I got lucky in a nutshell. So if you're still with me, 15 minutes later, here we go. It is 24 hours of cross stitch, so I'm gonna get back to it. I just have one more little thing to share with you today because I'm so excited about this. If you're not interested in project bags, I'm just gonna chat about Evertote for the next couple of minutes before I say goodbye. Last week, there's been something, you know, that I've wanted to try for a little while because I really, really, really like the cotton that I use for the lining of many of my bags. And it's a newer cotton to me. It's like an organic cotton. It's kind of it's a cream off-white. It's just natural. It's a natural fabric, and it's got that fleck in it that an organic, you know, fabric would tend to have. And I thought, oh, I'd like to do some embroidery on that, machine embroidery. And so I did. And then I turned it into a bag. And I was just, as I was making it and it came to life, I just thought that is exactly what I wanted it to be. So I was so excited that I was moving so fast that I did a terrible job lining up the embroidery on both sides of the bag. So this is my bag. And also because I was playing around with it, I'm also not, you know, it's too high where the embroidery is, where the embroidery sits on the bag. It's a little bit too high, but it's simple, it's elegant, it's plain. It's kind of that alternate side of my personality, right? Where I've got the personality that's like all the hot, bright colors and the you know, mandalas that are covered in color and savon. And then you've got the more delicate sort of sampler, muted colors, simple, minimalist. And I just thought, you know, this really floats my boat in a funny way. And then Sarah, out of the blue, Sarah picked it up off my table and she said, oh wow, Mom, this is really nice. She said, Mom, that's my taste, that's my style. And I thought, okay, good, we've got a winner. And so I am working on a line of bags to add to the shop, and they're gonna be in the shop. I mean, I'm not gonna run out of this fabric anytime soon, and I can use my machine to do the embroidery. So this was the sample. This was what I came up with first. And then I tweaked it a little bit, and I chose a slightly different embroidery. So I went with one that has a little bit more of a vine to it. So this is the Notions pouch. And so then I moved it, the Notions pouch, the distance here works. And then I made a wedge tote. I'm just gonna unzip it so that I can open it up here. So then I made a wedge tote with the same vine embroidery, side strap, and then I've used the same cotton as the lining. So it's simple, it's clean, it's minimalist, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So then you've got the pair like that. And it's it's a cream, it's a natural fabric. And so it's not a pure white. And I absolutely love it. So I'm gonna make flats, I'm gonna make some more wedge. I'm not gonna make a ton because I think people will like them, but I don't wanna have, you know, a million of them. Not that I wouldn't put them to good use myself, and it sounds like my daughter might take a few too. But then I thought, so this was, you know, you can't just have the one. You also, now this isn't finished, this is just the panel. But you need to have black and white too. So this is the panel to a medium flat bag. And I'm gonna put a white zipper in it. So you're gonna have that contrast of the white embroidery with the white zip. And I think it's gonna be beautiful. So clearly it's, you know, it needs to be put together into a bag to look its best. But just imagine that little white pop of white at the top there. And the white, I have a white Evertote tag on the side. I love it. Look at how simple. I just think it's so pretty. Now, the one thing about you know, when you're working with a fabric like this that's black, it does show, it's like wearing black, right? You're always going to have a little bit of, you know, it's not going to be perfectly pristine. But I kind of like that. Simple, elegant, you can leave it out on the coffee table while you're working on your project and it fits in. I love it. Again, it's like alternate personality, because I love the bright florals, but I also love the simple plain. So, you know, I hemmed and hawed over what to call it. Like, how do I list something like that? And then I thought, you know, it's the first time ever that Sarah has ever looked at anything that I've made without me kind of, you know, goading her into, hey, what do you think about this? Do you like this? And yes, Mom, it's fine. It's nice. It's great. You did a good job. Hooray. This, she actually picked up and she's like, oh, this is really nice. This is my style. So I'm going to call it the Sarah Collection, which tickles my fancy. Love it. Okay, so the shop is closed. The shop will be reopening. I'm gonna have a shop update on May the 1st, and the bags that will be in the shop are bags that are made and ready to go, and then I will spend the next day packaging, and then I'll ship them out the next day. The one thing about postal, like, everybody knows this now, right? The postal service is slow because they're dealing with Christmas time rush. I'm not wording that badly. Volume, Christmas time volume in early spring, which is, you know, because everybody's doing their shopping online. And so things are moving slowly. I'm still waiting for packages, which reminds me, there's no secret on the Glendon Place thing. I might as well go ahead and tell you, because if you're on Cheryl Granda's mailing list from Glendon Place, you will have already seen it. Cheryl has designed a freebie, a beautiful freebie, sort of sampler, not sampler style, but it's, how would you describe it? Yeah, I guess it's sampler style, and it's called Hope and Strength. And it's a free PDF download on her website. You can sign up for her mailing list. Cheryl was in the process of sending me a package of supplies to stitch this and to share with you, but it's been sitting in Toronto, we think, for the last little while. So she went ahead and released it on her website. It's there now if you'd like to go over and have a look. It's a lovely pattern, and of course meaningful for the times. So hopefully that package will arrive at some point next week. One can hope. Okay, that's it for me today. I was really around about the place today, all over the place. So hopefully you're still with me, and I'm gonna make another cup of coffee, and I'm gonna get back to my stitching. Today is a stitching day. 24 hours of cross stitch. The details are gonna be in the drop down box below. It is put on by Jen Lee of Quirks and Stitches and her mom Cindy, and they're doing something fun actually. They've chosen 24 movies, comfort movies, and they are trying to watch all 24 of those movies. They started yesterday and they're going through Sunday. So I can't wait to hear whether or not they get through all 24 of those movies. I think that's pretty fun. Okay, so that's it for me. I do need to take Luna for a WALK later this afternoon. But it's a beautiful day outside today, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna put a little, you will have already seen it. I took a little bit of video of the sky this morning because it was just the most incredible shade of blue, and it's not cold out today. It's about 12-13 degrees Celsius, and it'd be nice to go for a you-know-what outside. I can't say it, you know it. If you have dogs, you know you can't say that word until you're ready to go. Otherwise, you're gonna be literally in the doghouse. So I will see you on Monday. And until then, take care of yourselves and happy stitching. I'm such a dum-dum. I told you that it was the Bucilla Florentine tiles because I only saw it out of the corner of my eye where I can't see where my glasses are. Florentine tiles hung here for like 5 years. And then I'm gonna say at least a year ago, I moved it and I put this here, which is of course the Little House Needleworks neighborhood. And here's another example of changing out the spelling. Of course, you know, it was charted for neighborhood spelled the American way, and I did change that to the Canadian spelling or the British spelling. And yeah, love that. Cute piece. Yes, I finished it in 2011, but I only had it framed last year. It's all good. So cute. All right. Let's see. You know who. Hello. All right. Goodbye, Flosstube. Have a great weekend.